back in July of 2020, I had the very distinct privilege of being interviewed, like I'm interviewing you, by Teresa Pembroke from GP Red, and she brought me on the show. And really, the title of it was "Bouncing Back and Staying Back." What are we learning from COVID? And what we know now is completely different than what we knew in July. And so I kind of want to work with you guys, talking to you about what have you learned over this year, and more importantly, what do you see as the impact kind of now into the future? So we're in late March, early April. What's gonna happen in our summer camps? What's gonna happen in our summer and potentially fall programming when the kids go back to school? So let's just talk about that. Let's look at what do you see as kind of the legacy of COVID and potentially the long-term impacts, or where you're going to go with your programming over the next 6 months.
One thing I would like to start with is just talking about the awareness of what's out there now. So, obviously COVID has had a lot of challenges that were put on people and facilities and communities, and a lot of negative that's happened. But I have made a point to look at the positive of a lot of things that's come out of COVID, which I know is tough, but we kind of have to do that. And one thing that we've seen is just overall the awareness that it's brought to our department and what we offer and what we provide. Right off the bat, I can tell you from a park usage, last year was our busiest year we've ever seen in park usage. We had a 35% increase for parks in this fiscal year, which is not even over yet, which is now over, we're estimating over 13 million people have visited our parks in the last year. And with that being said, it also kind of goes back to that awareness of, well, on top of parks, what else can you offer? So when we started doing outdoor programs, when we started doing virtual programs, people were really intrigued by what we do, and then it taught them to look into other things that we offer and other facilities that we offer. So when, prior to COVID, you may have lived 5 minutes or 10 minutes from a park or a greenway or a rec center, but didn't even know it was there just because that wasn't in your daily routine. Well, COVID hit, everything is closed down. What can I do? What can I do to get outside, recreate, and be, active? And that's where we shine. So, I think one long-standing impact is going to be, the awareness that people that may not have used our facilities or our programs in the past that now have used them are going to be return users. So, hopefully the users that have already used them, they're going to come back. But then we have this new group of users that are now using our facilities and our programs that were never there just because they didn't know about it.
Yeah, and the question for you, kind of just follow up, is how do you, and you said a great statement here. We had somebody living 5 minutes away from a national park. Now they're finally using it. How do you make sure that use continues? Because one of the things that I have been thinking about is, the recreational habits of various community members have changed, but some of them are going to go right and revert right back, and some of them are going to continue. So how do we manage that situation? Any ideas on that?
Well, yeah, one thing we've done is we've kind of, as much as we've been able to hire additional staff to maintain these parks. Obviously, with higher usage in facilities and outdoor rec, it's like, well, they're getting used more than ever. There's more trash, there's more usage. We need to do some more upkeep. So, we've never stopped trying to hire outdoor staff to be able to maintain these facilities. So the more you can maintain them, the better you can serve, because they're obviously going to be a little cleaner and more, prettier for the eyes for people to use. But I think a lot of that just comes down to word of mouth. I mean, people are now spreading the word and they're telling their friends, hey, meet us over here, let's have a picnic. And they're doing that obviously socially distant. And, I live near a park that, we used to go to a lot. We frequent there. There was a playground there, and I have a young son, but I had never seen so much usage at this park prior to COVID. But it was really people that were using it for outdoor space. They were doing their own fitness routine. They were stretching. They were doing yoga. They were having picnic with friends. And, it kind of forced people that may in the past, hey, let's just meet at your house and let's go watch the basketball game and hang out. Now let's meet outside and let's have lunch together 10 feet apart or 6 feet apart. So by spreading the word with their friends and their family, it's kind of increased that usage even more. So now hopefully, as we show these numbers to our elected officials and our park boards, we see the value that we already knew was there, they knew was there, but, we show the increased value to our public officials that can, continue to show the budget need for these facilities and the maintenance that's going to be there.
Tom, what about your thoughts about programs, long legacy of COVID and long-term impacts of COVID, especially as you start looking, for your summer programming into your start of school year programming?
Yeah, I mean, Jay said it very well, and I won't go too far into that, but just to add to what he mentioned about the usage, right? People found just such a reconnection to the facilities that they locally have because, frankly put, they couldn't really go anywhere else. And now I think it's hard for people to even Chris, you mentioned it. People are going to try to kind of turn that switch and go back to whatever they did. But there's a good segment of people out there that are going to find it very difficult to say, "Hey, we're just going to go back to normal." And so I don't think that's going to happen. And what I mean by that is 100%, right? So a
Yeah.
good portion of those people who really reconnected and found that love for their local park or facility or rec department, they're going to look to them. And so for us, what I've seen, and I'll go with some, maybe to go in a different direction than Jay did, directly with programming and specific programmings, trends that we've seen and where I think it might be going. I think we're going to see, or what we are seeing is there's that kind of pay to play or the reservation type model. All right. And so think about a restaurant, where you have to make a reservation, you have to show up at a certain time with a certain party, and that's what you're relegated to in terms of enjoying that experience. We've had a lot of that going on, so as opposed to a traditional, and Jay mentioned primarily being outdoors. I'm in Western New York. We just don't have that luxury, So we had to figure it out, or in terms of using indoor spaces. So with our sports programs, here's a great example. We just cut out the spectators. So for youth sports, we've been doing all throughout the fall and into the winter, whether it's a skills and drills because we couldn't do leagues yet, or when it was okay to do leagues and we can start doing leagues, there's no parents allowed in there, and our numbers have I'm not gonna lie, they've increased from where they were in traditional years, just regardless of the fact that a parent can't come and necessarily watch. As far as your events go, going indoors again, for a traditional Easter event, you might have hundreds of people inside to meet a bunny when you're, in Western New York and you can't go outside and do an egg hunt. What we had to do was several different time slots or reservations for smaller groups of people to come and enjoy. Make it kind of a turnkey program in and out. Not that 2, 3 hour event anymore, but maybe 1 hour per group. Turn it over, clean it up, bring in a new group. We had to do that with Halloween as well. So I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing that. Smaller groups for programs. I know that's been a discussion topic, I think, in your last one, Chris, but we're doing escape rooms here. So a lot of people are doing escape rooms. Well, the traditional or typical escape room from before was, you have a slot and anybody can sign up for it. Now what we've tried, and it's been very successful, we've sold out several times, is that you have to sign up with a group. It's not 20 spaces and then, Jay, you sign up somewhere, Chris, you sign up somewhere, and you're part of that group of 20. Jay, you have to actually bring the group. It's got to be your people you're comfortable being with. And so I think you're going to see a lot of those programming where you're really bringing your own fun, so to speak, and enjoying what we have to offer.
Yeah, and your point about the reservation model is really really interesting because I think it goes into forget COVID for 1 second, but it addresses the need to understand to be very very cognizant of people's time.
Yeah.
And so if you're talking about using 3 hours to go visit the Easter Bunny, nobody wants to do that. And nobody wants to stand there. Now, yeah, you get to greet your neighbors, you get to see all the kids dressed up, great, great, great. But the fact is, hey, listen, between 9 and 10, I'm going to be able to see the Easter Bunny, not between 9 and 11 or 12. I might get to see it on the Easter Bunny's lap. Boom, you've got that reservation system. And we implemented a reservation system for one of our commercial enterprises, our kayak facilities. Beside the fact that it was a very socially distanced activity, the numbers were through the roof. Absolutely. It was every 4 minutes. We just treated it like a golf course. Excuse me, every 8 minutes. We treated it like a golf course. Boom. And people who were coming, because people come an hour to 2 hours away, they now know that they're going to get a kayak at that time. And so I think it was a really interesting thing. The other thing, Jay, I want to kind of comment on something that you made. Your numbers, you said you're going to have potentially 13 million folks, or you've had 13 million folks through your system so far. I think that becomes another thing of just justifying our services too, of being able to count And recreation folks like numbers, but counting park users is very, very difficult. But I think we need to continue to justify that. Hey, listen, this is how many people are actually in our parks. This is how much people are actually using them as well. Let's talk about your future of where you see kind of maybe some indoor facilities. Both of you have some indoor facilities. What's on the horizon due to COVID that you see is going to be impacted? Do you see any changes in your procedures, your cleaning routines now into the future?
Well, I think the cleaning routine that we have in effect right now, that we've had in effect for the last year, I don't think that's going away anytime soon. So we actually bought a disinfectant sprayer for all of our rec centers, and they pretty much go through and they fog all the rooms when the kids are out of the rooms for the day. That's something that we're going to continue to do. And we're actually, right now, we're in the process of transforming one of our 12 passenger vans into a mobile rec unit. So we'll be able to go into different communities and serve a maybe underserved population that is not near our traditional rec centers. And we're going to actually put one of those sprayers in that truck. So at the end of the day, when that truck is cleaning up, they can lay all the equipment out on the ground and spray it down, put it back in the truck for the next use. So, I definitely think that the cleaning procedures that we've had in place are not going to go away. It gives the parents that are signing up for these programs, they ask a lot of questions, what our protocols are. And, for summer camp, for example, that is laid out very clear in summer camp that, we have disinfectant procedures. The kids have to go through different steps to get in the facility every day. And, we limit who comes in the building every day. And that gives them an ease of mind knowing that their kids are in a safe environment.
Tom, what do you think? Excuse me. Yeah, Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go into that summer camp model for Jay too. What he just mentioned. I think we talked a little bit about this, the altering of spaces. So the large space, I'm not going to say that the large space is going to go away, but we saw what we experienced with summer camp this year, and quite frankly, we were almost forced to go small space. And so, what we traditionally saw was your cafeteria where we would pack 75 to 150 kids in one large space, eating side by side. Well, I mean, obviously the school kind of set the ground for some of this too. Some of the schools around here, they don't even use their traditional cafeteria space. They eat in their classrooms.
Yeah.
And so, I think we're going to keep on that trend, at least for this summer, if not beyond, where we're going to be looking for more segmented space for those who use our programs.
Yeah, I think from a facility standpoint, I think we're spreading the masses out. No longer are we going to have 300-400 kids or people in a program, defined area. It's how do we spread that out? We're working on it. We're working on our 4th of July program, and typically we have 100,000 folks, and we're thinking we're going to have 4th of July in a traditional mindset, but we're looking at it as, okay, how do we activate some spaces that we've never activated before to provide different experiences for the individual depending on what they're comfortable with. And so, if you want the traditional experience of, the hot dog vendors and the going short of bouncy houses right now, but the music and all that type of stuff and the fireworks right in front of you, sure, go here. If you want an experience where there's no music, there's no nothing, go over here. You're still going to see the fireworks. And if you want to drive an experience, go park in this lot. And I really see the fact, and I'm still convinced that, and this goes a little bit into programs and facilities, but you're going to have multiple segments of the community that are in their comfort level with one groups, and then two with potential what they're feeling is exposure to it. And I, in previous talks, I've talked about red individuals, green individuals, and yellow individuals. Of what their level of comfort is, and I said I think we'll still see that. Let's talk about your staff. You all have. Oh, you have another thing.
I was just going to add one thing. You mentioned there's different comfort levels. I can speak for our situation here in Mecklenburg County. We have virtual fitness classes that are offered. We have outdoor fitness classes that are offered, or you can come into our fitness center and work out in person. So,
great example.
Depending on their comfort level, they could do it at home, they could do it in person, or they could do it outdoors in a park.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the great thing about that, Jay, is you're providing the service.
Yeah.
We're not just saying you have to go into the rec center, you have to do this. It is, depending on your comfort level, you can go here, 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 and we're providing that service. Tom?
Just one more note on indoor spaces. You talk about that and what we provide. Something to keep in mind is in our area, there's a lot of overlap in terms of school facility use. As so not everybody has a rec center that might be able to house every type of program, and so maybe you use the schools. But one thing that we saw here is a lot of the schools, when they shut down back in March, they shut down, and by that I mean there was nothing, no community use at all. So one, we talked about exposure to parks and people reconnecting with their parks. All those groups who were looking for a space to use, we didn't have the opportunity, or they didn't have the opportunity additionally to use the schools. So they were looking, and where they came was to your local rec centers,
Great
your
point.
local town halls that have meeting spaces. So that's another thing to just, you talked about awareness of our actual parks. There's going to be an awareness of our indoor facilities as well, and a lot of the community members are going to be looking for spaces.